Hey everybody, welcome back to Movies and That. I'm your host Cody, and today we're going to review The First Omen. So, The First Omen, directed by Arkasha Stevenson, and stars Nell Tiger Free, who I really haven't heard too much about both of these people, and really a lot of the cast in here. But listen, they delivered. This is one of the best horror movies in general that I've seen in a very long time, which is an awesome thing. And it's sad that I have to say this, just with a lot of the horror releases we've had, that have been promising that really didn't deliver and things of that nature. But this one is awesome. So, quick background on me and the Omen franchise in general. Wasn't always the biggest fan. Now, don't get me wrong, these movies actually scare me. They've made me a bit uncomfortable. I haven't really liked them that much because of that. There's just always something about possession and religious horror movies that really haven't gelled with me. But other than that, I do like The Omen. Except for the remake, the one in 2006, I really wasn't a fan of. It scared me when I was younger watching it back in 2006, but ever since then, I see the flaws in it. I just really haven't been a fan. But I love the original. I actually just rewatched that after seeing this, and that made me appreciate it a little bit more. But there's just something about Damien as the little kid and all that always just, creeped me out. But great movies. I love the first two. I actually really like the second one better than the first one for the longest time. But I can kind of flip-flop depending on the day you ask me. And I've always enjoyed the third, and I never cared about the fourth. I think the Omen 4 sucks. But that's just my opinion. But I do like Omen 3, but I think they missed what they're going. But anyways, we're here to talk about the First Omen, prequel to the Omen. And listen, I mean, from the minute that movie starts, just the credits and how it is being shot, it feels like it's like kind of the old school 70s horror. And that's kind of how the direction Arkasha Stevenson took this movie. I mean, honestly, it was shot beautifully. It's directed so well. And you got some shots in the movie that just like throw you back in time. At least that's how it was for me. And it just like gives this awesome horror vibe and an atmosphere to it that I feel like so many of these modern day horror movies miss. And this just made me feel like there's hope in the horror franchises, horror movies moving forward with this movie. This movie shows how it should be done and how it can be done. And but yeah, so let's talk about it here. So we have character's sister Margaret, who comes, I guess, gets recruited or comes over to Rome by one of the high cardinals or priests or whatever, who's been looking over her. She was an orphan in America, grew up, in a religious setting, and growing up and training to be a nun. That's what she was going to be. She comes over to Rome to, I guess, take her vows. I think that's what they called it. Take her vows and become a nun. So she gets there, and kind of right away she realizes things are a little weird or a little, I guess, spooky, especially with this girl Carlita, this young girl. She sees a very weird drawing of like this. It's black and white. The rest of the pictures the kids drew were colorful. Hers was black and white, and it's like this girl floating over a bunch of other little kids or little girls. It was made by Carlita. Carlita is now. We first see Carlita. She's like in this room by herself, and like you can tell, like there's something off with her, something wrong, and she kind of not attacks Margaret, but like Margaret's trying to like say hello and talk to her, and but Carlita like jumps across and like licks her and licks Margaret, should I say? So, anyways, getting after that, Margaret kind of gets a fixation on Carlita because she sees a lot of herself as a young child in Carlita. So she wants to help Carlita assimilate and really be part of of the convent or whatever they're at, and play with all the other little girls and whatnot. So she tries to do that. The more and more she tries to become friends with Carlita, the more and more the higher ups, the higher nuns and the priest, kind of dislike that and distrust Margaret for doing so. But anyways, then we get into Margaret's living situation. She lives off the convent with a roommate named Luz, and she seems like, kind of like the more down to earth, cool partier type of woman. Um, and that's kind of what we get into is Luz tells Margaret, like, hey, listen, we're gonna have our bodies covered for the rest of our lives. Like, we're not gonna be able to show anything off or really do much. Let's spend one night and go out there and let it all out. Margaret was hesitant, but after Luz kind of gives her a makeover and some new clothes, she agrees and goes out. They party, they drink, they meet some guys. Margaret making out and kissing with this one dude. But the one thing that stuck out with me was whenever Margaret licked the guy and then it cuts. Right then and there, I started thinking of something because, like, this whole time, like, I guess because the movie starts out, and I'm sorry, I got to backtrack here, but the movie starts out with Father Brennan, who the guy who plays him looks pretty close to how he is in the original Omen. But Father Brennan, I guess, gets information about the new Antichrist, or the I guess not the new Antichrist, but a little girl that was born that was fathered by the devil. It's not the Antichrist, it's not Damien yet, but it's this little girl that he's looking for, that holds the key to the Antichrist potentially. So anyways, after we see that, this whole point, like, at first it makes you think Carlita is going to be the one that they're looking for, the little girl in the picture that Father Brennan gets. But then after Margaret does the licking thing, it's very similar to Carlita, and she tells Carlita that she's had similar experiences. Then you start thinking, like, wait, is it really Carlita, or is it Margaret, or was it Carlita, and by kissing or licking Margaret, it kind of transferred to Margaret. So that's kind of like how I try to keep you guessing throughout the story. And also, too, we get the callback to the hanging. Like, this is all for you, Damien. Well, we do get a callback to that. It's one of the sisters who is not all there either. She was like sitting there whispering to Carlita. Margaret comes over, is like, hey, can I get in? What are you guys talking about? And the other sister, like, stands up, doesn't really acknowledge or say much to her, but, like, kisses, or, well, they have a picture and it shows, like, a girl that Carlita drew, and she drew a baby inside of that girl, like in the womb, and it was a boy. So, but anyways, the sister then kisses Margaret and then, like, disappears, and then Carlita, Margaret, they're, like, playing with the other girls, and all of a sudden the sister's, like, up on the balcony of the convent, and starts rambling off. She's all wet, and it's like, you think maybe she was sweating or whatever, or just who knows. And then she lights herself on fire and realizes she doused herself in gasoline, and then she hangs herself on fire. But before she does that, she goes, this is all for you, and she's looking down, the camera pans directly at Carlita. So, like, if the first movie, say it's all for you, again, this one, she doesn't say a name, but, makes you think that she is talking to Carlita. Well, as we go on, maybe she was, but I don't know. I don't know. There's something with the kissing and the licking, I guess, and things like that. But anyways, so we get that call back. We get that whole scene unfolds. It's crazy. But the more and more we go on, the more and more Margaret becomes more, I guess, unhinged and scared and freaked out by everything that's going on. She ends up getting with Father Brennan, who Father Brennan lays into her on exactly what's going on, why he's there, why he needs her, and he basically wants her to break into the storage place where they keep all these files on all the orphans that are at the convent, and he wants Carlita's files. So she doesn't do that at first. She's kind of freaked out by what Brennan's telling her. She thinks he's nuts. But after being punished, or sorry, not after being punished, but something else happens with Carlita. Okay, and the nuns want to keep her away from Carlita. Okay, they're like, you're not going near Carlita anymore, because the nuns know that Margaret is on to what's going on. We do get some things that Margaret witnesses, specifically a baby delivery scene, and it's not a baby that's being delivered, and that's all I'm going to say. We get some very, very uncomfortable shots of what's going on, and we see this wild thing being born. But after all that stuff, the nuns say, "Stay away from Carlita," blah blah blah, and you're crazy, and also tells her she's not getting her vows anymore either because of being with Carlita. So she says screw it, and she goes and finds the files. And this is after, I'm sorry, kind of bouncing around here. This is how I do these ones. But it was after Luz, I guess, got her vows and became a nun. And she just broke down from that, decided to use that as a distraction to go and find these files, which she found a trove of them, that they've been trying to birth an Antichrist, but each time it's either a deformed baby or they're females. Well, they've all been females, they've all been deformed, except for 2 of them. So we found out that one of them was indeed Carlita, but the other one they weren't sure of. But right then and there, when they finally put that piece to the puzzle, I was like, Margaret's one of them. Sure enough, Margaret was one that got away. Well, not got away, she just got transferred over to the United States, and she was an orphan there, but she was being overseen and protected and guarded by that one high priest, or I think he's a cardinal, and I don't know why I'm blanking, I'm sorry, but just go see the movie. So Brennan and Father Gabriel, who Father Gabriel actually saved Margaret from the convent and took her to Brennan. They're trying to calm her down, but then they realize Margaret's pregnant, and then she has this whole flashback of that night out, she has this flashback of that night out with the guy she hooked up with. She did hook up with him, and actually there's this whole scene where she runs into him on the streets, and this is after she kind of had her breakdown and whatnot, her episodes, and he's freaked out, he is disheveled and dirty and all this stuff, and scared to death of her, wants nothing to do with her at all, and you have no clue why, and he gets taken out by a freaking truck. And split in half, and Margaret picks him up oh, I'm gonna save you, and try to carry him away, and she just carries off half his body. So anyways, we get that whole flashback after that night that they hooked up. She actually gets taken back to the convent by Luz, and she's all, I don't know if she's just drunk or if she's drunk and on drugs or what, and they have the jackal, they have a jackal from hell impregnating these women. So finally they are able to impregnate a Antichrist woman, I guess, that wasn't deformed, that actually lived and was able to bear children, and not just some regular woman that they've been trying to do this with. So they finally got her. The jackal rapes her, and she gets impregnated with more Antichrist. And she wants to get an abortion, rightfully so. She wants to get that out of there. So Brennan and Gabriel, they're on their way to take her somewhere to get that done. But the church comes after her, bam, rams the car, knocks out Brennan at least. But that's we really don't find that out for a while. I think it kills Gabriel. And she's alive, but she gets out and she's all possessed and jerking around and stuff like that, and she kills it with that. And then her water breaks, and she's getting pregnant, or she's getting pregnant very, very fast. And so the church, the nuns, the priests pick her up, take her in, and then we get to the delivery scene where they do this C-section on her, and they take out this pod, this sack, and she has twins. One's a girl, One's a boy. The boy the whole time this church has been waiting for, because as Brennan told Margaret, what's going on is we have believers like you and I, and then we have people that want more people to believe. And the only way they think they can have more people believe is by scaring people or having an antichrist to force people to believe. Like, that's what's going to happen. So with that being said, the boy is what the church has been wanting the whole time. They needed a boy to be the Antichrist, and that's how we get Damien. So the church's plan was to actually kill Margaret, kill the little baby girl, and take Damien and, control him, make him the all-powerful being to do this thing. Well, Margaret wanted to hold Damien, said, his mother, whatnot. They give it to her, and then she almost kills him. Freezes up, decides to kill the high priest that's been watching over her this whole time, kills him, going to kill Damien, but then Luz comes out of nowhere, stabs Margaret. We think Margaret's done, out for the count. She's not. And, she ends up getting her daughter, escaping. They burn down the place that they're in, like the church. They set the place on fire. They were going to burn the baby and Margaret alive. They weren't supposed to escape, but as it's burning, Margaret and the baby make it out of there, and we see the jackal in the back, just in the background. They kind of do a close-up on it in a sense, but burning up, getting lit on fire. She makes it out, and then one of the high nuns, the top nuns, is telling Luz, what she needs to do with Damien. You're going to give Damien to the ambassador for the United States of Italy. You're going to give it to him because him and his wife is about to have a tragedy, hence setting up the events that happen in the Omen. And then that's how we find out. And then at the end of the movie here, Brennan finds Margaret, her daughter, and Carlita all living together in this remote mountain snowy area. Brennan shows up and is like, listen, I'm just here to warn you. The church knows you're here or alive. They're going to come from you. And oh yeah, by the way, your son has a name. His name is Damien. And Margaret is pointing a double-barrel shotgun at him, just saying, leave me alone. But after he does leave, Margaret kind of knows what's going on. So that's it. I know I kind of did a lot of jumping around, but I love this movie. I mean, it's... If you love horror movies, you got to go see it, but it's not for the casual viewer at all. It can be very uncomfortable. It's loud, and it is a little freaky. It's definitely creepy, and I don't want to say yet this is my favorite Omen, but right now as we stand, it is. But like I said, I did just watch the original. I'm going to watch 2 maybe tonight. We're going to, because those are 1 and 2 are always my top 2 of the Omen franchise. So we'll see where these 3 sort themselves out. But yeah, I mean, A+ movie. This is an A+ movie. I love it. And I'm very thankful that we got a movie like this. So that's it, everybody. So yeah, A+ on the First Omen. Go see it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Always like this video. Subscribe for more. And thank you, and have a great rest of your day.